Check. 1 2 1 2.
Live across the universe.
Check it out.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's about that time, y'all.
you are now in the mix. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give it up for
ATL, stand up. You're locked in with the livest, realest, rawest talk in the game. This is the Bro Code Podcast ATL, where the culture talks back, the vibes stay heavy, and the code always respected. Don't touch that dial. Keep it right here, because we breaking the code live from the A.
Welcome to the Bro Code Podcast. Join Kennedy Lucas, Terry Lester, and Jackson Smith as they break down the biggest plays, share locker room banter, and keep it 100 on sports hot takes. Gear up, because this is where the real talk begins. Cause this is where the real talk begins. Gear up. Cause this is where the real talk begins.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, on behalf of Bro Code Podcast, we are here at Cedar Shoals High School for Cedar Shoals High School versus East Forsyth Broncos football matchup tonight. And of course, y'all know how we do on every broadcast we do, every Bro Code podcast we do. I'm here. Tyler and Marcus is here. The other Marcus is here for another exciting football matchup tonight. We'll wait to see what happens for sure, but I can't wait. Now, this school has some historical moments as I try to figure out where in the Blue Blazes I need to go. I guess I can go this way. But we are very close to University of Georgia. Go Bulldogs, I guess. And I say I guess because I never went to UGA. I went to GGC. I'm representing the Grizzlies more than I am the Bulldogs, but I guess that's the thing. Shout out to Matthew Stafford. He plays for the Rams. He came from UGA, so that's always a good thing. Yeah, very, very special moment. Come full circle. But we're here, home of the Jaguars. Jaguars versus East Forsyth Broncos. All right, let me go see where I need to be because I'm in a strange foreign place. But stay tuned. Gentlemen, if you can hear me, the stage is set. Cedar Shoals football is here. We're live at Cedar Shoals High School for the Waters Wilkins Stadium as we're going to see the Jaguars versus the East Forsyth Broncos. And if y'all can hear that, that's the band. That is the band that's getting ready to give us a great show here today to cheer on their Jaguars. And of course, the East Forsyth Broncos are also here to give us the latest in their season. Now, if you guys remember last episode of Bro Code Podcast, the East Forsyth Broncos did fall short. So the question is, for Tyler and Marcus, as part of the Bro Code Podcast, will they be able to come out of their rap that they had from last week onto this week's game? So we'll wait to see what happens, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very, very excited to see what's going to happen when it comes down to this matchup. Again, it's the Jaguars versus the Broncos. Coming up next, you'll see a little bit from the Bro Code Podcast. Stay tuned.
Jags punt, short punt for the Jags. Broncos offense ready to take field. At this time, we'd like to thank our opening practice partners, Jackson Jerry Higgins, class of 78, Athens School, Jeff Wilson, and Kent Sports, and Marketing Group at Charles Trump, class of 96, 99, 2001, and 2004. Thank you for your support of the Broncos program.
Class of 1996?
That's 77 to me, right?
He said, man. It's cool to be here for a minute.
Big game one back for the Broncos. First down, Broncos.
Open in 1972.
You've been here for a hot minute. Good Lord.
Game is about 7, and that brings one second down for the Broncos.
Leave me alone.
Jack makes home here as we celebrate the 2025 homecoming. We'll be at homecoming tomorrow right here on campus. Indians got 3 shots at 17. We're making the first day ticket. One open. 2025 homecoming. Get you a ticket. We're going to see your face in the place. It is second down for the Broncos.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bro Code Podcast, we're officially here at halftime. They're announcing the homecoming court for Cedar Shoals High School, which we won't show on this show because it's personal for the school as well. But let me just say, Cedar Shoals with a 0-6 record. We were nervous and we were like, hey, coming in and thinking that we were not going to see much from them. But the Jaguars, let me tell you, Tyler and Marcus, they're giving us a run for our money for what we're watching. Of course, the Cedar Shoals Jaguars is at the score of 14, and East Forsyth Broncos is at the score of 7. Jaguars, they're giving us a lot. They're giving us a lot of interceptions. They're giving a lot of us offenses and defenses as well. Great touchdown scoring for just impeccable scoring when it comes down to the Cedar Shoals Jaguars. They're giving us a run for our money for sure. So we will have to see what happens next. Tough break for the East Forsyth Broncos. They just cannot get the ball. They cannot hold on to it. They cannot be able to score as many touchdowns as we saw them do a few games before. So we'll have to wait to see what happens. The crowd is here. Being that Cedar Shoals is celebrating their homecoming weekend, a lot of fans are out there. The band is here. A lot of people are out performing and cheering the team on. Cedar Shoals Jaguars. We had a lot of flags, believe it or not, Tyler and Marcus. There was like a total of 25 to 30 flags on the team, but that is not stopping them within the end score. So we'll wait to see what happens. Will the Jaguars prevail this game tonight, or will the East Forsyth Broncos be able to get some more touchdowns, some more points on the score, because the Jaguars is leading East Forsyth Broncos with a score of 14-7.
Talk about holding the Broncos, but big games. Number one, Jordan Rashes, there's a flag on the play. The flag on the player. Multiple flags on there. Multiple flags, and those flags are on the Jags. Holding on the Jags. Holding on the Jags. That pass is caught for about 50 yards, and it's caught by number 12, Tobias Lake. And they second down to the Jags. Once again, Tobias Lake with the catch. That catch was about 10 yards. Brings up second down for the Jaguars. Snap fumble by the quarterback. Loss of about 1 to 2 yards. That brings up third down for the Jags. Yeah, that's your reminder that at halftime, 2025 Hall of Fame will be presented to you. And also at halftime, please make sure you stay and support our 2025 homecoming court. Both the flags. And that flag is on the Jags behind us. It will be third down for the Jags. Big game by number 4, Braylon Humphrey. There's a flag on the play. No flag on the play. That flag is on the Jags.
Just to get the crowd saying,
That flag is on the Jags.
Flag now hairs or no? He does.
That's why we see it on Jags. That brings up third and long. Was caught game about 89, and that pass was caught by number 12, the senior, Tobias Lake.
That's a nice name.
Let's say in the dice.
One 13 to go in this first quarter. That's why Mark is on the Jazz, the layup game. Layup game on the Jazz. We're back in Jazz up. Jazz brings the punt. Back to receive with Broncos number 12.
Hey yo, ATL, stand up. You're locked in with the livest, realest, rawest talking the game. This is the Bro Code Podcast ATL, where the culture talks back, the vibes stay heavy, and the code always respected. Don't touch that dial. Keep it right here, because we breaking the code live from the A.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, audience, the cast members here in the studio, they are here. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another exciting sports podcast here today. Of course, we've got T and Jackson and audience here today. This is the Bro Code Podcast ATL, presented by our Herd Media. Now, we did change some things up here into the studio. Very, very excited because we were able to bring, another table here and get the equipment in here too. Changing some things up, the old setup was good, but we're kind of cheating, right? Because, we're in a different scenario and just easier to transmit from one show to another show. If you guys know, based off the outfit, we just got done recording K.L.P Aftermath Podcast. Go check that out, the episode out that comes out tomorrow. Very, very excited for that. So thank y'all for the patience and the change up when it comes down to our sports show. I didn't forget about Broco Podcast because this is one of our, I'm gonna be honest, this is our anticipated show that everybody loved watching, believe it or not. Whether it's my takes or our sports takes, Tyler and Marcus's take, everybody has a take on the sports world, and I'm here for it. I'm really, really here for it. So hopefully, you guys are tuned into the episode here today. We got a great one. We've got stories and top stories when it comes down to the Broco Podcast. A lot of things in sports this week, audience, and T and Marcus and Tyler and Jackson. It's a lot of things going on this week. Today, or tomorrow, rather, GGC, I will be at Georgia Gwinnett College Convocation Center for their training for basketball. Of course, basketball is here when it comes down to GGC. They're getting ready to start their inaugural season opener, and I can't wait to see what that looks like. I can't wait to see the amount of people that came out to these games when we get started. I can't wait to see what it looks like. And, of course, I'm going to be in the control room doing some training and doing a lot of things that I need to do when it comes down to seeing what the basketball season will look like for GGC. So very, very exciting when it comes down to it. Now, let's get to our sports and what we've been doing. If you guys know, you know, we did Pace Academy volleyball, and I just got to do air horn, guys. So I would say that was really one of the quickest volleyball matches I've ever produced. Quick. We got there, got set up. I'm thinking we're going to be here for a while. We're going to do, nope. An hour, about 20 minutes. That's how long the game ended. I was able to be home well before 8 p.m. And it was very, very good. I love it. I'm here for it. I'm thankful for it. Simply because, games, typically they take the longest, producing and see what the teams are going to do. Right now, I got to say, Pace Academy, they went against Marietta High School volleyball teams. Very, very special for that game because that was senior night. It's getting interesting. A lot of these schools are getting ready for senior night. Seniors are getting ready to wrap up their their high school career and getting ready for that high school graduation. And then they're getting ready for the college career, right? That's a whole different monster. And it's only interesting because when you're a senior, you don't know if you're going to be playing volleyball or a collegiate sports, right? You don't know because there's hundreds upon millions upon thousands of athletes just like you in high school, but now they're looking at college, right? And you can only get sponsored so many times. So very special moment for Pace Academy and Marietta High School, of course. It was a 3 out of 5, best 3 out of 5. And of course, Pace Academy won all 3 of the first 3 out of 5. So they were able to win the match. And it was very, very quick. Very, very good for Pace Academy volleyball teams. Pace Academy up there in the Paces Ferry area. That is where the big houses are. The luxury houses, T and J. You know, there's a lot of big dogs up there. But then we jet on over to Friday. And fast forwarding a little bit because, you know, Tyler Markers, they're going to get ready to give us a more in-depth of that. But, of course, Friday, we were able to jet to the Athens area. And I would say, Athens on Friday night was the first time that I was in Athens. Do I know of Athens? Yes. Our studios are here in downtown Atlanta. That was my first time being in the Athens area. College town. You guys know what it is. University of Georgia is there. And very, very excited for University of Georgia, UGA. Of course, their season have started with football. College town is there. A lot of people there getting ready for that game. That was that next day, right? Very, very good. When it comes down to it, I think they were going against University of Kentucky. They were at home, I believe, at the Sanford Stadium. Drive-byed it. It was nice. It was a nice stadium. College town. But we were in the Cedar Shows area. Of course, it was Cedar Shows Jaguars versus the East Forsyth Broncos. Very close match. Jaguars gave us a lot. Let me tell you, Jaguars, they had their score of 0-6. You know you're not doing good if you're 0-6 in your football season. That means that you won 0 games and you lost the only 6 games that are in the season so far. You lost all of them. So I was nervous for the Jaguars at first when it came down to it because I didn't know if they were going to win against the East Forsyth Broncos. Very, very sad for Cedar Shows because that was their homecoming night. Always special when there's a special thing going on. Homecoming night for Cedar Shows Jaguars. Of course, they had the homecoming courts. This young lady, young man won homecoming court. And it's a surprise of the Jaguars football game. Let me tell you, there was a lot of moments. There was a lot of moments there. Free interceptions and a lot of moments for touchdowns for the Jaguars. They gave us a lot of things that we were able to see. I was worried for these Forsyth Broncos because, you know, they had a perfect record, right? But now they're kind of slimming out the last 3 games. They didn't really do so hot in the last 3 games, but they were able to come back and to beat them. It wasn't I can't say it was an ass kicking. Can't say that, guys. This was a close match. It was because the Jaguars gave us something. I thought we were about to see 1-6 from the Jaguars, but unfortunately they ended up losing the match. So now their record is 0-7. Not good for the Jaguars. Of course, doesn't matter if they win the next few games, they won't qualify for playoffs. It is very slim pickings when it comes down to East Forsyth. If they win their games starting from that game on up, they could have the potential to make the playoffs. I hope they make the playoffs so that way we can continue to tell the story for East Forsyth Broncos and whoever they go against next. But we don't know if they're going to make that playoffs, but we'll see. We're very hopeful, guys, but we'll see. Tyler and Marcus got a more in-depth review of their game. Take it away, guys.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Gridiron Gab, your favorite spot for all things high school football. It's your boy, Tyler Brooks, coming at you with some electrifying news from the field. Now, let's be honest, every team, no matter how good, is going to hit a rough patch. It's just part of the game, a test of character, if you will. And for the East Forsyth Broncos, well, they've been walking through a bit of a wilderness lately. Can you imagine the pressure? 3 straight losses, folks. That's 3 weeks of hard work, 3 weeks of grinding, all without the sweet taste of victory. That kind of streak can start to play tricks on your mind, make you question everything. But here's the thing about great teams and resilient athletes. They don't stay down for long. They learn, they adapt, and they fight their way back. And let me tell y'all, what happened on Friday night in their matchup against the Cedar Shoals Jaguars? It was a comeback story for the ages, a real shot in the arm for a team that desperately needed it. The Broncos stared adversity right in the face, and they blinked first in previous weeks, sure, but this past Friday, they stood tall and delivered a performance that reminded everyone exactly what they're made of. It was more than just a win. It was a statement that East Forsyth is back in the hunt, and they are not to be counted out. Let's dive into how they did it, shall we? This is the kind of football grit we just love to see.
Now let's get down to the nitty-gritty of that game, because this wasn't just handed to them on a silver platter, no sir. The East Forsyth Broncos went head-to-head with the Cedar Shoals Jaguars, and when the final whistle blew, the scoreboard read East Forsyth 21, Cedar Shoals 14. A 7-point differential, folks. That tells you it was a hard-fought battle, every single yard earned. What's interesting is, this wasn't the first time these two teams have squared off. Max Preps reported that the Broncos had actually gotten the W the last time they saw the Jaguars too, so there might have been a little bit of a mental edge there knowing they could beat them. But past performance doesn't guarantee future success, especially when you're carrying the weight of a 3-game losing streak. The Jaguars, bless their hearts, are still searching for their first victory this season, dropping to 0-7 after this game. And while you never want to see a team struggle like that, it does underscore the challenge for East Forsyth. They had to play a clean game, avoid mistakes, and execute under pressure, because even against a winless team, a losing streak can make you second-guess yourself. They needed this win, and they earned it with sheer determination and some clutch plays. It wasn't a blowout, but sometimes those close, gritty wins are the ones that build the most character and truly turn a season around. They dug deep, and they found a way to win. When you talk about a team breaking out of a slump, you've got to highlight the players who stepped up and made it happen. And for East Forsyth, one name stands out big time: quarterback Chase Rhodes. This young man was slinging the pigskin, putting up 124 passing yards and a crucial touchdown that helped secure the victory. That's the kind of performance that inspires confidence, not just in his teammates, but in the entire fan base. Now, who was on the receiving end of that touchdown pass, you ask? None other than Jackson Norman. He was Rhodes' top target, snatching up 35 receiving yards and that pivotal touchdown. Talk about a dynamic duo. That connection between a quarterback and his receiver, especially in high-pressure situations, can be the make-or-break difference in a game. It's not just about the stats, folks. It's about trust. It's about knowing where your guy's going to be, even when the pocket's collapsing and the defense is breathing down your neck. It's a beautiful thing to watch when it all clicks. These guys weren't just playing, they were performing with passion and precision. They recognized the moment, they stepped into it, and they delivered exactly what their team needed to get over the hump. These are the kinds of individual efforts that really galvanize a squad and remind everyone what they're capable of when they play as one unit. Okay, so East Forsyth got the win, 21-14. But why is this particular victory so darn important? Well, here's the thing. This wasn't just any old non-conference game. This was their first region victory of the season, pushing their region record to 1-2 and their overall record to a more respectable 4-3. Now, if you follow high school football, you know those region games, they mean everything. That's where you make your mark. That's how you climb the ladder towards a playoff spot. Think about it, the morale boost alone from snapping a 3-game skid and getting that first region win, that's priceless. It's like a weight has been lifted off their shoulders, and now they can breathe, regroup, and look forward with renewed vigor. This isn't just about X's and O's, it's about the mental game, the psychological advantage. how do teams bounce back from adversity? They do it by getting a win like this, by proving to themselves that they can still perform at a high level. It's a testament to their coaching, their leadership, and the sheer willpower of those young men on the field. This victory has the potential to be a true turning point, a catalyst for a strong finish to the season. It's all about building momentum, and boy, did they just build some. What a difference a win makes when it means so much to the team's standing. So, what's next for our now momentum-fueled East Forsyth Broncos? Well, they don't get much time to rest on their laurels because Friday night brings a classic rivalry game. That's right, they're set to challenge their rivals, the Walnut Grove, at 7:30 p.m. this Friday. If there's anything better than snapping a losing streak, it's carrying that newfound confidence into a rivalry match. The atmosphere is going to be electric, I can tell you that much. This is where the Broncos can really solidify their turnaround and show the entire region that they are a force to be reckoned with. Now, what about the Cedar Shoals Jaguars? They've got another challenge ahead as they face off against a familiar foe in Madison County, scheduled for October 17th, also at 7:30 p.m. You gotta respect those young men for continuing to fight week in and week out. But for East Forsyth, the path forward is clear. Build on this win, channel that positive energy, and leave it all on the field against Walnut Grove. This is the beauty of high school football, folks. Every game has stakes, every victory has meaning, and every team has a story. The Broncos just wrote a pretty compelling chapter, and I, for one, can't wait to see what they do next. It's going to be a showdown, a true test of wills, and you know I'll be here to break it all down for you on the next Gridiron Gab. Don't miss it, y'all.
Thank you guys so very much for that as well. Now, bit of disappointing news when it comes down to it. I'm sad. I'm really sad about this one. New England Patriots versus my team, the Buffalo Bills. Now, I'm a Bills fan, and I thought, man, we were going to see another great record. This was another match that I can't say that this was an ass kicking, right? The Buffalo Bills this is one of their best seasons that I've seen, right? Now, I'll caught glimpse of these games because over the past weekend, I normally watch football on weekends, but I've been wrapped doing other things, like finishing a new documentary, Dear Isaiah, coming out very soon. We've been working on it. New England Patriots, their score was 23, and the Buffalo Bills score was 20. It stings a little bit. Stings just a little bit. Now, Patriots QB Drake May said the game would be a great, and in quotes, great gauge and checkpoint to see what we've got and what we can handle. That was a quote from the quarterback, Drake May. And they give the first 5-time AFC East champs as they could handle in an adverse environment in prime time spot. Giving that it's just the fifth game of the coaches, of course, the coach's tenure there. It reflects the progress of his program. That's Mike Vrabels, of course, that he's kind of the new coach because obviously we know Bill Belichick was a longtime coach of the Patriots, but he went to college level now. He's, doing his thing. He haven't won that game, though. He won, I think his score was like 3 in this last game that Bill Belichick was coaching, so not looking too good. At the same time, the Bills were uncharacteristically sloppy, some might say, some of which caused by the Patriots, but it was also self-inflicted. Again, their defensive performance for the Bills wasn't the greatest from this game, I got to say, based off the glimpse that I've seen. Again, unfortunately, I didn't catch the full game, but a glimpse of it I've seen. I was a little bit disappointed because that's where I got my fantasy money on. That's what I got my fantasy football team on, is the Buffalo Bills, right? Now, this is a quote here. This is a unit that has some concerns, and that's the defensive we're talking about. And for the first time in this season, it did not have the big-time plays to close out the tight game. Of course, injuries continue to plague for the Bills' defensive. Of course, tackle Ed Oliver misses a 4th straight game, and linebacker Mike Milano sat out the second half, and the secondary pass rush had some questions, evidence in the struggle of slowing down Diggs, who had approximately 146 yards. There's work to be done and the help that is needed. Now, sloppiness. we got for the Bills. The one thing I hope the Bills don't do, because a lot of teams do this, right? When they are on a high, good, and they don't have a perfect record no more because they lost, but they had 3-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4. When you on that high horse, you can't afford to be sloppy. You can't afford to be cocky. Because I'm riding on the Bills, right? So that's why I'm riding hard on them right now. Because when you have that perfect record, you think you hot shit. You think you doing the damn thing. You think you're going, but then there's a team that's going to catch up on you. Now, quarterback Josh Allen, he only had one interception coming into the game, but had fumbled an apparent miscommunication and an interception in the red zone. Of course, Keon Coleman has also had a fumble. Again, why are y'all fumbling? Let me tell you, the fumbles are the most important. The most embarrassing thing is a fumble in football. I think that's like the most embarrassing thing in the realm of football. If you are fumbling the ball. Now, an NFL record 26 game streak without losing a turnover battle has come to an end. I'm very sad about it. Now, on top of that, the Bills had 8 accepted penalties in the first half that played a major role. Of course, they tied with their second most in the first half of the game under Sean McDormand since the year of 2017. I do hope they continue on this reign. By the time you're probably watching this podcast, the game's probably going on right now. Monday, they're here. They're in Atlanta. They're in town against the Falcons. Bills, you better not lose to the Falcons. Because if you lose, by the time you're watching, if you are losing to the Falcons right now, because I got money on you, Bills. I got money on you, Josh Allen. Very, very sad. Look, they had the perfect record. I hope they don't get sloppy. Please do not get sloppy. It is one of those things that is very, very important. Detroit did win their game. Detroit Lions won the games against the Cincinnati Bengals. Very, very good for Detroit. Shout out to Detroit. Shout out to Detroit and Chicago because I've been to those places. I've been to Detroit once, but been to Chicago twice. But I've got some money on the Buffalo Bills with when they had the perfect record. So we'll wait to see what happens. I just don't want them to fumble this one. I really, really don't want them to fumble this one. Take it away, guys.
I don't know how they lost that game. Watching the 49ers celebrate after stopping the Rams on a game-deciding fourth. And one run Thursday night. I simply couldn't form an explanation for how the Rams had managed to blow what should have been an easy victory over their injury-riddled division rivals. It felt like the Rams could have done whatever they wanted on offense. And a limping Mac Jones' only reliable target was Kendrick Bourne on the 49ers side. So the Rams' 26-23 defeat looked as if it would be one of the most frustrating and inexplicable losses of the entire season. And then Sunday rolled around. Sure, there were ugly defeats, like the Giants turning the ball over 5 times to lose 26-14 to the previously winless Saints. The Raiders allowing the Colts to score 6 straight touchdowns in a 40-6 defeat, and the junior varsity Ravens single-handedly re-inspiring confidence in the Texans in a 44-10 blowout. And to cap off Sunday, the Bills fell 23-20 to the Patriots. But even judged by the standard that started Week 5 on Thursday night, fans had to endure some truly monumental and heartbreaking collapses Sunday that went beyond any of those. Which one was the worst? I'm here to answer that very question. If it sounds similar to a conversation we had a couple of Mondays ago, you're not wrong. After a series of losses that must have caused televisions around the nation to shudder in fear of flying objects, though, we have to essentially run back that same topic to see whether these Week 5 losses were just a confluence of awful moments or were something more significant to worry about for the losers. And I have to start with a game that transcended the rest. The story. The team that doesn't know how to win versus a team that desperately does not want to win. Let's get this out of the way. This was the worst loss of Week 5. As someone born and raised on the East Coast during an era when the Cardinals weren't one of the league's better teams, I'll admit that I don't have a ton of personal friends who are Arizona fans. The ones I do know had the same reaction to Sunday's loss on social media or via text. This was the worst Cardinals loss they'd ever seen. There have been a few agonizing ones, too, with the 24-23 defeat to the Bears on Monday Night Football that inspired Dennis Green's famous "They are who we thought they were" speech is perhaps the most memorable. But I can't even chalk this one up to recency bias. Outside of losing a more important game, I really can't imagine a more nonsensical and despairing way to lose a football game. Let's start with the first inexplicable play. Up 21-6 in the fourth quarter, it looked as if the Cardinals were about to turn the lights out on the hapless Titans. They pulled a lineman as part of a gap scheme run on third and won, and didn't even do a great job of blocking it up. But Tennessee wasn't about to get in their way. Emery Demercado didn't really need to make a cut and didn't encounter any defenders at the first, second, or third levels. On the easiest explosive run Demercado will ever have in his career, he went untouched 72 yards to the end zone, but the ball went only 71 yards. Just as L'Jarius Sneed caught up at the goal line, Demercado relaxed and let the ball fall to the ground. He saw it bounce on the ground in front of him, but simply decided to let it roll through the back of the end zone for a touchback. Sneed knew. Demercado began to celebrate. If he didn't know, he was about to find out. You don't need me to tell you, or tell NFL players, that they shouldn't run the risk of dumping the ball out of their hands anywhere close to the goal line. There's no benefit. Holding the ball for an extra beat or two and letting it go then looks just as cool. This was going to be the fifth and longest touchdown of Demercado's career. And given that the Titans had yet to score 21 points in a game all season before Sunday, going up 27-6 with just under 13 minutes of regulation, left was going to end the contest. What makes this even more painful, of course, is that Demercado was surely reminded of this last week when Indianapolis receiver Adonai Mitchell dropped the ball just before the goal line in what ended up turning into a 27-20 Colts loss to the Rams. NFL players don't get to watch a lot of random football during the season. They're working on Sundays, and it's hard enough to prepare for the team you're actually playing. But Demercado even played on Thursday night last week. I know his coaches were watching what was happening Sunday, and I'm sure every single staff around the NFL saw the Mitchell disaster and reminded their players to not do the one simple thing that can cost you 6 points as you're streaking to the end zone. Demercado doing it anyway is unconscionable. That's a disaster. But it felt more like an unnecessary mistake than a critical, game-altering failure in the moment because the Titans had been absolutely hopeless. They had racked up a total of 120 net yards across their 10 prior drives, including 3 consecutive 3-and-outs to start the third quarter. They were entering their 8th consecutive quarter without a touchdown, or even as much as a trip inside the red zone. And so, of course, Cam Ward and the Titans morph into the 2023 Dolphins. Ward drove the Titans 80 yards in 6 plays, hitting Calvin Ridley for a 47-yard completion on third and 10 along the way. Tennessee scored its first touchdown since Week 3, but when Coach Brian Callahan curiously decided not to go for the 2-point conversion, Joey Sly promptly missed the extra point. Arizona still held a 21-12 lead. After Cardinals 3-and-out, the Titans drove downfield, at which point something even wilder happened. Facing a 3rd and 2 on the Arizona 20-yard line, Ward scrambled and had a pass tipped to the line that fell into the arms of Dadrian Taylor-Demerson. With 4:53 to go in a 2-possession game, that's probably something close to a wrap on the Titans if Taylor-Demerson simply goes down and is touched by a Tennessee player. Instead, something happened that would seem outlandish even in a movie where a dog is one of the team's star players. Taylor-Demerson went down under his own power and fumbled. K.L.P Clark, the first player to see the ball on the ground, couldn't stop and kicked it forward toward his own end zone, despite the fact that there were 3 Cardinals hovering directly over the football like they were roasting Eskimo Rays. The ball somehow squeezed out of their grasp and into the end zone, where Tyler Lockett, whose Titans career was relevant only for immaculate grid purposes before Sunday, fell on it for a touchdown. Suddenly, it's 21-19. From that point on, it might have felt like fate. Arizona punted after racking up 15 yards on its next drive. And while Tennessee needed to get into field goal range from its own 18-yard line with 1 timeout and 1:53 to go, the Titans didn't have much trouble. Ward hit 3 straight short completions, found Chigokonquo for a first down, and then hit his big shot, going over the top of Clark in coverage to Ridley for 38 yards. With the game on the line, the Cardinals didn't give a corner, who's in the lineup only because of injuries, any help over the top against Tennessee's top wide receiver. After an attempt to let the Titans score failed, the Cardinals used their timeouts on kneel downs and watched Sly hit a chip shot field goal to end the sort of game that would cause the home fans to cancel their season tickets for 2026. Realistically, we're going to remember the 2 once-in-a-lifetime plays the Titans stacked for their victory and treat this more as an unforeseeable, unrepeatable meltdown by the Cardinals than some sort of turning point for the previously winless Titans. And that's probably fair. Per NFL Next Gen stats, the average win probability for the Titans at any point during this game was 12.1%, the lowest for any winning team in any game since 2016. Ward deserves credit for some of the throws he made late in this matchup, but the problems the Titans had coming into this game didn't disappear. Everything beyond those 2 plays will fade, but this wasn't simply a fluke loss for Arizona. The Cards stumbled through a game they should have dominated against arguably the worst team in the NFL and left the door open before running directly into it and knocking themselves out. The Cardinals scored touchdowns on 3 of their first 4 possessions, one of which was aided by a short field, and then went to sleep on offense. Their 5 drives in the second quarter produced a total of 27 yards, including what might be the worst intentional grounding penalty I've ever seen. Kyler Murray's attempted pass was 15 yards from a nearest receiver and a full 9 yards short of the line of scrimmage. After halftime, Murray drove the Cardinals into field goal range, only for a premature snap to hit him in the helmet, leading to a Titans fumble recovery. Murray then left the game briefly before returning, but the offense could do nothing. Outside of the Demercado run that ended so tragically, the Cardinals managed 28 net yards and 2 first downs on their 16 ensuing plays after Murray was hit by the snap. Arizona's game management simply wasn't good enough. Facing a 3rd and 8 from its own 35-yard line with 2:12 to go and a 2-point lead, the entire playbook should have been open. The Titans still had a timeout, but with the 2-minute warning stopping the clock, the maximum amount of time the Cardinals could have taken off with a run would have been only 12 seconds. Instead of all people, the Cardinals handed the ball to Demercado. This time, the Titans had an unblocked linebacker at the second level, had edge defender Draymond Jones fight off a block, and tackled Demercado for no gain. Of course, this isn't the first time the Cardinals have struggled to get their offense going for the vast majority of a game. Just last week, facing a difficult Seahawks defense, Drew Petzing's group racked up 6 points and averaged 16.3 yards per possession across their first 9 drives before scoring touchdowns on each of their final 2 attempts in the fourth quarter. In Week 3, they topped 50 net yards only once on a drive against the 49ers, and that required 33 penalty yards. In the opener against the Saints, leading 20-10 in the third quarter, Murray and company mustered only 5 first downs and 49 net yards combined across their final 4 drives, opening the door for the Saints to come within a contested catch of tying the game in the final minute. There's absolutely no consistency to this offense, and that's a product of the run game dissipating. Losing James Conner and Trey Benson to injuries hurt, but the rush attack was struggling even before the Cardinals were forced to turn to their third-string backs. While they did hit a big play to Demercado on Sunday, they have not been able to rely on their run game, keeping the offense on schedule. Between 2023 and 2024, the Cardinals ranked 8th in the league in success rate on design runs. This season, they're 31st by the same metric. Correlation isn't always causation, but it does seem notable that Cardinals offensive line coach Clayton Adams left Arizona this offseason to join Dallas and take over as a defensive coordinator. Guess what has happened there? Led by a resurgent season from Javonte Williams, a Cowboys run game that ranked 12th in success rate on design runs between 2023 and 2024 is now 2nd in 2025. The Cardinals were renowned for their usage of heavy personnel groupings and used a day 2 pick on blocking tight end Tip Ryman in last year's draft. But they've gotten away from that this season. Petzing was in 12 or 13 personnel, which used 2 or 3 tight ends, more than 44% of the time last season. That has gone below 36% this year. Some of that is injury-related, with Ryman missing all of Week 2, before being carted out of Sunday's loss with a serious ankle injury. But in Week 4, with Arizona flailing on offense for most of the game, Ryman played more snaps on special teams 13 than offense 6. Now, with Ryman expected to miss significant time, those sort of personnel groupings aren't even on the table. With the run game rolling in 2023 and 2024, the Cardinals were a top 10 offense by EPA per play with Murray in the lineup. But too much of the offense is falling on his shoulders now, leading to inconsistency as the Cardinals rely on Murray creating outside of structure. There aren't even consistent roles for their best players. Marvin Harrison Jr. had 4 catches for 79 yards in the first half and was targeted just once after the break. In Week 3, he had just 2 targets before halftime, and he has 1 target out of the stack or bunch formation over the past 4 weeks. At what point do the Cardinals need to be creating design opportunities for the guy they drafted with the 4th overall pick in last year's draft, especially during stretches when the offense has gone missing? Coach Jonathan Gannon should be distraught. The Cardinals were a completion away from hitting victory formation against the 49ers in Week 3 and lost. They were badly outplayed by the Seahawks in Week 4, but late comeback should have pushed them to overtime, only for Chad Ryland's kickoff to land short of the landing zone and the Seahawks to hit 1 completion before a 52-yard field goal. They should have won this game going away. Arizona could be 4-1 right now. Instead, the Cardinals are 2-3 and staring down the Colts and Packers over the next 2 games before their bye. 2. The Eagles losing 21-17 to the Broncos. The story, the team that has struggled to put opponents away all season finally doesn't get away with it. The Eagles were in position to leave no doubt. Having drawn comparisons inside and outside of Philadelphia to the 2023 team that rode its luck early in the season before collapsing later on, this was a chance for Nick Sirianni's group to prove it is more like the 2024 vintage. Facing a great defense in the Broncos, the Eagles had finally thrown the football effectively in the first half. Saquon Barkley's first big play of the year arrived on a 47-yard touchdown catch in the third quarter. And with Bo Nix struggling badly and his Broncos trailing by 2 touchdowns midway through that third stanza, the Eagles were in position to close out the game and put what has been the most frustrating for the 0 start possible for a defending Super Bowl champion in the rearview. That didn't happen. After the Barkley touchdown, Philadelphia picked up 1 first down on its next 4 possessions. Nix, who had been averaging 3.2 yards per dropback when you include his 2 grounding penalties, put together the most important stretch of his career, proving that he's capable of fielding a comeback against a very good defense on the road. He led a pair of consecutive touchdown drives at the end of the third quarter and the beginning of the fourth quarter, then set Denver up in position for the game-winning field goal. Over that stretch, he went 12 of 13 for 136 yards and 9 first downs. It was the Eagles who imploded, flummoxed by a series of questionable calls that all seemed to go against the defending champs. They could do nothing to avoid their collapse, as they've done in games against the Cowboys, Chiefs, and Buccaneers this season. The Eagles got out to a lead, but weren't able to pull away from their opponents. And this time it came back to bite the birds. Philadelphia didn't lose simply because of the penalties, but let's start with that remarkable run of calls and how they impacted the game. The Eagles committed a pair of penalties to start their drives at the end of the third quarter, and A.J. Brown false start, and the start of the fourth quarter, a Brett Toth holding call. Those weren't controversial, but they did put the Eagles immediately behind schedule on drives that would become 3 and outs. Other calls after Broncos took the lead were more dramatic. 1. After a good kick return for Will Shipley, the Eagles had a first down on a throw to Devonta Smith, called back for Tyler Steen being illegally downfield. They ended up facing a 4th and 4 around midfield. And when the Broncos sent a big blitz, Jalen Hurts threw a ball over the top to Smith for a 30-yard completion. The catch would have put Philadelphia in field goal range, but Barkley was flagged for an illegal shift after motioning from out wide into the backfield. It's a shame, because Barkley flipped a blitzer over in pass protection after the snap. Moving one man in motion at the snap is fine, but the Eagles briefly had other players moving while Barkley came in motion, which meant he needed to come to a complete stop before the snap. The snap also came with just 2 seconds left on the play clock, meaning that there wasn't much time for Hurts to wait for his star tailback to get set. This also wasn't controversial, but it was certainly sloppy and meaningful, given that the Eagles would have been in position to kick a field goal to take the lead. Instead, they punted. 2. After Denver got the ball back, Sean Payton called for Nix to run a naked bootleg off play action. There, he met Jalix Hunt, who quickly closed down the second-year quarterback. Nix tried to escape and throw the ball away, but his attempt didn't make it back to the line of scrimmage. Nix was flagged for his third intentional grounding of the game, but without so much as an explanation, the flag was picked up after the game. Referee Adrian Hill told a pool reporter that his communication device to speak to other officials wasn't working and that another official spotted a receiver in the area. Nix's throw didn't make it back to the line of scrimmage. The pool report suggested that 28 was in the area. The Broncos didn't have a no. 28 on the field for that snap, but they did have a no. 82 in Adam Troutman, who was just past the line of scrimmage and running away from where the ball was thrown. It's tough for me to believe that Troutman ever had a realistic chance of catching Nix's pass. But if you believe that Nix's throw was influenced by Hunt's hit, you could convince yourself that this wasn't grounding. I believe the initial call was probably the correct one. 3. With the drive extended and the Broncos in field goal range, the Eagles appeared to come up with a stop when Andrew Makuba tackled R.J. Harvey short of sticks on another boot concept with 2:29 to go. Philadelphia was in position to call timeout and get the ball back before the 2-minute warning, down by no more than 4 points. But Zach Bond was flagged for unnecessary roughness, extending the drive and forcing the Eagles to use their timeouts. Bond is naturally going to be upset about this one. Harvey was holding himself up to try to stretch out of the Makuba tackle and pick up a critical yard. It's going to be extremely difficult for Bond to slow himself down and avoid tackling Harvey if he actually does go down at the last moment. Bond is already visibly about to launch himself as Harvey's knee hits the ground. At the same time, though, Bond also hit a vulnerable Harvey in the head with forearm, making what might have been a fractionally late hit look and feel more vicious and unnecessary. Eagles fans are upset with the call, and Broncos fans would have been upset if it hadn't been called. I couldn't blame either. With 9 seconds to go and Philadelphia desperately trying to get in position for a game-winning touchdown, Kevin Patullo dialed up 4 verticals, with Dallas Goedert and Brown switching downfield to try to create a throwing angle. Hurts tried to put his pass to Goedert on the back shoulder, but it fell incomplete. Despite heavy contact from backup safety J.L. Skinner, the refs didn't throw a flag for pass interference. Now, this would have been a very controversial pass interference call. Goedert and Skinner were engaged in hand fighting for about 10 yards before the ball arrived. There's unquestionably contact, and there's a slight late tug on Goddard's jersey that might justify a flag. But this was hardly the obvious call Sirianni was making out to be on the sideline. This would have been more controversial as a flag on Skinner, who was penalized earlier on the drive for pass interference. Then it will be as a non-call. Game situations shouldn't matter for calls, but this would have been a game-shifting decision on an extremely narrow flag. How many of the Eagles fans who wanted this flag were upset that the refs didn't let the players decide things on the field when James Bradbury was correctly rung up for holding to set up the game-winning kick for the Chiefs in Super Bowl 57? This was a good no call. Lost in the conversation about the calls is the reality that Philadelphia, yet again, was not able to definitively put a team away. The 2024 Eagles were typically able to rest by the time they got to the final few minutes of the fourth quarter. While there were occasional scares against the Jaguars and Panthers and eventual losses after late drops against the Falcons and Commanders, the eventual Super Bowl champs were typically able to extend or maintain leads in the fourth quarter last season. This year's team has not been able to do that, in part because it hasn't been able to reliably run the football. Strip-out scrambles and kneel downs, and the Eagles are 23rd in success rate on the ground in the second half of games this season, down from 10th a year ago. Success rate doesn't matter as much if a team is generating big plays, but those haven't been around either. The Eagles obviously haven't had the same explosive plays that helped them seal up games in 2024 with late Barkley touchdowns. While he had a 47-yard catch in the passing game, and would have had another long touchdown as a receiver last week if Hurts saw him come wide open on a scramble drill. Barkley has yet to turn even one of his 83 carries into a 20-yard rush this season. In 2024, Barkley had 17 runs at 20-plus yards during the regular season and added 4 more, including 60-, 62, and 78-yard touchdowns during the playoffs. What was truly remarkable in the second half Sunday is that Philadelphia simply didn't even try to run the ball. As Nate Tice mentioned on Twitter, the Eagles essentially abandoned the run in the second half, holding a lead for much of the final 2 quarters. The Eagles dialed up just 2 design runs, one of which was called back for holding. They dropped back 26 times. 4 of those dropbacks were RPOs where Hurts could have chosen to hand off the ball, but the most devastating run game in football last season simply didn't run it in the second half of this game. Are there mitigating factors here? Some. 7 of the past dropbacks came with Philadelphia trailing and out of timeouts, where a run probably wasn't going to be a good idea. Penalties at the beginning of drives pushed the Eagles into first, and 15 on one possession in first, and 20 on the next, steering them toward the pass by virtue of the game situation. Those drives never got back into spots where the run was a realistic threat, limiting the Eagles to dropbacks on 6 more snaps. But at the same time, the Broncos weren't exactly selling out to stop the run throughout those drives. There were a few 7-man boxes, but Denver never got to the sort of 8-man loaded box that truly discourages teams from running the football. Barkley finished the day with just 6 carries, 4 which came against 7-man fronts. He averaged nearly 6 yards per carry in those spots last season. In addition, the Broncos shifted toward heavier doses of zone coverage as the game went along. Hurts was 9 of 15 for 142 yards and 2 touchdown passes against man coverage, but he was 14 of 23 for 138 yards, and took all 6 of his sacks against zone. The Broncos were in zone on 17 of Hurts' 22 dropbacks in the second half, and the Eagles never really found a solution that worked for them against those coverages. No offensive coordinator is going to be on the hot seat after a 4-1 start, but there are understandable questions about whether Patullo is finding the answers Philadelphia needs on the offensive side of the ball. This is the most expensive offense in NFL history in terms of cash spending, returning 10 of 11 starters from a devastating 2024 attack. Sure, guard Landon Dickerson was limited to 12 snaps in this game after suffering an ankle injury, and offensive tackle Lane Johnson was out for most of the Rams' win with a stinger, but the Eagles are hardly the Ravens' defense in terms of injuries. More than anything, this team doesn't have a successful offensive identity right now, which is why so many of its star players are griping about not getting the ball frequently enough. It's one thing for a wide receiver like Brown to complain about not getting enough when Barkley is coming close to the single-season rushing record. It's another when the run game isn't creating explosive plays or even keeping the offense on schedule. This offense is 17th in EPA per play, down from 6th in 2024. Patullo's quandary has to stretch to the quarterback, likely in the hopes of keeping their signal caller healthy for the full season. The Eagles have essentially removed Hurts from the design run game, stripping sneaks and scrambles out of the equation. Hurts has 8 design runs in 5 games this season. He has averaged about 3.5 design runs per game over the prior 3 seasons. Those runs have an impact, even when Hurts doesn't actually carry the football. The threat of Hurts keeping on red plays or running counter or power concepts slows down opposing defenders, keeping them from chasing down Barkley when he gets a football. Do the Eagles get Hurts involved in the design run game, even if just for a week or 2, to try and make life easier for Barkley? Does Patullo have another solution? Are he and Sirianni just going to spend each game leaning into whatever the biggest criticism of the offense was the prior week? Or will Barkley start finding those explosive runs that have been missing this season? The Eagles are going to be fine, but after 2024, the bar was supposed to be much higher than fine.
I've been following Roki Sasaki's journey from Japan to the MLB playoffs. In 2021, he was a sensation, throwing 100 mph fastballs and a wicked splitter. But this season, things took a turn for the worse for him with the Dodgers. After struggling, he faced a pivotal moment in September with pitching coach Rob Hill. They worked on his mechanics, and Sasaki embraced a move to the bullpen. Suddenly he was back, throwing over 100 mpr and dominating in relief. In the playoffs, he secured crucial saves, proving his worth. Rocky's story is a testament to resilience and the power of trust in coaching. Never underestimate the potential for a comeback, especially in baseball.
As part of the wrap up here on the Bro Code podcast presented by Our Heart Media, we hope y'all enjoyed this show. You know, we do pretty well in this show. The finals are here. You know, NBA finals is the Phoenix Mercury versus the Las Vegas Aces. And let's play a little clip here. Let's just play it. Just
when
a little
Phoenix
bit.
misses those threes, they tend to be those long boards that are harder to corral by the defense.
Young, what a drive!
And I'm only playing the little clips and clips of it. Jackie Young. Woo! Pretty good. Hey, T, y'all see Asia Wilson's latest commercial? I think there's the commercial with Kevin Hart. I've seen that. It's nice.
Second three of game 2 for Jewel Lloyd.
This is game 2.
And another chance for Vegas.
For Vegas. Now, you guys know this is one of the teams I've been riding for. This is another team. This is another team I've got fantasy money on. Is the Aces, because I'm a big fan of Asia Wilson. You guys know I'm a big fan of Asia Wilson. Y'all know that.
And that is going to do it. A dominant
Valiant effort. Valiant effort for the Phoenix Mercury. Valiant effort. I'm not going to say it wasn't a great effort. It was a great effort. I've got fantasy money riding quite a few teams for NFL. Chicago, Bills, Jets. I lost money for the Jets already. But I also got money on Las Vegas Aces. NBA season is wrapping. WNBA season is wrapping up because the finals are here. Now, the Las Vegas Aces took a commanding 2-0 lead against the Phoenix Mercury. I got to say, Mercury, valiant effort. I can't stress that enough. Now, they won that 2-0 streak on Sunday. Again, Sunday I was in the editing room. We were finishing up a documentary. I didn't catch all the games I wanted to catch up on because I had other things going on. But Aces center Asia Wilson and guard Jackie Young combined of 60 points. And the Las Vegas Aces move a step closer to winning the franchise's third, not one, not two, but third championship win. And yet another dominating performance. Wilson, at the age of 29, is on the verge of becoming the most dominant player in WNBA history. She already won the MVP of the year, right? So I get very, very excited now with game 1 and 2 and in the books that focus on basketball is a welcome relief for the WNBA. Let me tell you, a lot of eyes were on this game. A lot of eyes are on the WNBA, period. But obviously, we're in the final playoffs, right? This is a series. They got 2-0, right? So I hope, like I say, T and TJ and everybody, I got money on the Aces, right? A lot of eyes are on this. A lot of people are watching WNBA finals right now. This spent the past 6 days recovering from a reality check. Both teams were, and implementing a labor battle with this players is on the horizons with the WNBA Collective Bargaining Agreement, CBA, set to expire October 31st. The finals may indeed be the calm before the storm. Of course, in a shot heard throughout the WNBA, Minnesota Lynx for Narisha Collar, Vice President of the Women's National Basketball Association, WNBA, launched its first salvo negotiation with blistering criticism with the WNBA over play inequity. That's something that I've been preaching about. I've talked a lot about it on Bro Code Podcast, but I'm going to reiterate. I do think these ladies do need to be paid like the regular NBA stars because they're giving us so much. Asia Wilson and Jackie Young from game 2 of the finals, they gave us a great performance. I got to say it. That's why I think it's time for them to get paid the wage that they need so they can continue to give us a shining spark. Just think about it. Players who get paid more, play better. When players play better, they win. When the players win, the team wins. When the team wins, your fantasy wins. When your fantasy wins, you want to invest more in fantasy. Do the math. Do the math. I'm very, very excited for this effort. I want this to happen for them. I'm very, very proud of all the teams for WNBA. Honestly, I even though I've got a favorite, I do like that. Now, WNBA games this season average 1.3 million viewers. Let me give you a little statistic. That's up 6% from last year, 2024. And that's across primary networks, ABC, ESPN, CBS, and ION. The league average of 969,000 viewers during the 2024 regular season, the highest average since the year of 1998. Viewership's up. Viewership is up. People are watching. People are paying attention. These ladies are giving us something that's remarkable, right? To where we want to chat these things. And that's why I think the CBA should make sure that these players are getting more. Right? We've got a bomb-ass finals right now. I can't wait to see what the Aces do next. Honestly, again, I said at the beginning of the segment, valiant effort for the Phoenix Mercury. I'm rooting for my team, the Aces. I hope they whoop y'all ass because I'm riding for the Aces. That's who I got money on. But I got to be honest, the ladies are giving us something. Right? The average points, Asia Wilson MVP, dominating, right? And the score for game 2 was 91-78. I want to say valiant effort. I can't say that was an ass kicking. I can't say that because it wasn't destroyed. Like they tried. Now we only got to see what's going to happen with game 3. And I'll be right here in the studio to talk about it. So shout out to the Aces. Go Aces. Big fan. So that's going to wrap it up here on Bro Code Podcast. We hope that you guys enjoy this episode as much as we did. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you're new to the channel, if you're new to our show, we thank y'all. Watch all the other episodes we got out because we've got a lot of great episodes out, and you guys don't want to miss the latest when we talk about sports. Not only me, but Terry, Jackson, Tyler, and Marcus, and Coleman. We got so many voices to talk about sports, and we hope that y'all enjoy it as well. That's going to wrap it up here on the Bro Code Podcast presented by iHeartMedia. We hope y'all enjoy this one, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Bro Code Podcast. Until then, stay safe, stay swanky.